So we know something's going to happen at Extreme Rules with this White Rabbit thing, but we also have a card full of awesome matches. 6 matches on the card altogether, 2 championship matches. Every single match has some sort of Extreme Rules stipulation in it. So let's get down to it. Let's make our predictions for this. We'll start with the strap match, Karrion Kross versus Drew McIntyre. Who you got with this one?
Cross needs it.
I feel like McIntyre needs a bounce back though, but does Kross lose momentum in losing to McIntyre though?
I don't think anybody truly loses momentum losing to McIntyre, but this is a guy that got cut or whatever ended up happening with that whole thing. He was released because the previous administration did not have faith in him and he wasn't connecting, and he came out with some really goofy attire. And ever since Triple H has brought him back, he's been positioned as a top guy. Well, how do you arrive as a top guy? You beat top guys. And if this is a guy that's going to truly compete at that level, he's got to get a main event win. Drew can get that win back at some point. He doesn't have to lose clean. I mean, for Christ's sake, it's Extreme Rules. He could pull a giant red mallet from under the ring and smash his head in with it like the Fiend would.
Please no.
I know. I'm being sarcastic. But no, I think Karrion Kross needs a win with this.
All right. Moving on to the next match here. The I Quit match. Finn Balor versus Edge. Judgment Day should be at ringside for this. Maybe this is where Bray Wyatt reveals himself as the White Rabbit. But who do you got in this? Edge keeps saying he's never going to say I quit. Do they do the Mick Foley finish and have him play a recording of Edge saying I quit, and that's how they get Finn Balor to win?
This is tough because I
Judgment
can't
Day
envision
need wins.
What's that? They both
Judgment Day
wins?
need wins.
Judgment Day needs a win. Finn Balor needs to essentially assert himself as the true leader of this faction. But I don't know if I could see Edge. The only way I see this happening, and I'm gonna say Finn Balor wins. I think something weird is gonna happen where Beth Phoenix comes down to the ring. They get her in some weird compromising position, like they got her neck in a chair or something, and that's the way they get Edge to quit. Like, it's not because Edge is beaten, or it's like they're forcing him to quit because they're literally going to hurt his wife. That's the only way I see this ending.
So, in a way, it's like the 1994 Survivor Series where Owen forced Mrs. Hart to throw in the towel.
Martha, right? Is that her name?
No. Owen's wife is Martha. I can't remember Brett and Owen's Hart's mom's name right now. Sue? I don't know.
No,
I have to go back to the tape.
Stu and
Helen. Helen Hart. Hart.
There you go.
Either way. But yeah, I could totally see that happening where they forced Beth to say I quit. I think they did the same thing with Jimmy Uso saying I quit to Jey Uso. And that's how the bloodline basically started, that whole storyline. But that's the only way I could see Edge quitting in this match. And I don't really see Finn losing. The question, though, is does he come out as the demon?
No, I don't think so.
I feel like if he was a babyface in this storyline, yes.
Yeah,
but if
exactly.
he's the heel, I think too many people would pop if he comes out as the demon there. Next up, we have the 6-man Donnie Brook match. Good old Donnie Brook. The Brawling Brutes, Sheamus, Ridge Holland, and Butch against Imperium's Gunther, Ludwig Kaiser, and Giovanni Vinci. I am excited for this match. The amount of pain and anguish that they're going to lay on each other. I don't know who's going to be redder. Sheamus's hair, Sheamus's chest, Gunther's chest. I mean, everyone's going to get a beating in this match. Part of this one's hard to predict because you have Sheamus and Gunther going for an IC title match on SmackDown. So I think whoever loses that match, their team wins at Extreme Rules. I don't see the title coming off of Gunther just yet. So I say he wins the IC title match, but the Brawling Brutes win the Donnie Brook match.
That's what I'm thinking. Whether it's Kaiser or somebody like, I don't even know. Is this like one guy gets pinned? Is it elimination, or we don't really know?
I think it's one pin. It's a one fall.
Okay. I could see like Vinci or Kaiser taking the pin.
Yeah.
And it'd be cool because it would allow Walter kind of to exert his dominance within the group and like kick the crap out of one of them for losing, you know.
Well, if Kaiser takes the pin again and has to take the punishment again, it just kind of falls into the storyline that they were kind of doing a couple months ago.
Right.
Where Kaiser kept losing to Shinsuke and he just slapped the hell out of him, or Gunther slapped the hell out of him. Or does Giovanni Vinci take the pin and then he gets his initiation to the main roster in that regard? Either way, I see the Brawling Brutes winning this one with Gunther retaining the SmackDown, or the Intercontinental Championship. Should we do the Fight Pit first, or should we go with the Women's Championship matches first?
Let's go with the Fight Pit.
All right, we'll go with the Fight Pit next. Matt Riddle versus Seth freaking Rollins. Daniel Cormier, the special guest referee. The last of our non-title matches on this card. I feel like this will probably be the main event, but you also could put Bayley and Bianca in the ladder match. That's a historical match, being the first women's singles title match for a ladder match there. You know, we already seen Matt Riddle have a Fight Pit match before, and I thought that was great. If you haven't seen that one, definitely check it out. I don't know how Seth is going to do in a Fight Pit situation, because it's not exactly a wrestling match. It's more of a mixed martial arts worked shoot fight. So does that kind of hinder the match because it's not really in his style of wrestling per se?
Well, it allows some wiggle room for Seth to lose and then for him to come out and say it wasn't a wrestling match, like it wasn't sanctioned, I didn't actually lose, something like that.
Yeah.
The question is, how serious is Triple H about pushing Matt Riddle? Because a win over Seth Rollins means you've made it, whether it's in a fight pit or whether it's in a ring. I think that Seth, what they're trying to do with him, he's going to go after the IC title. I don't know how you transition into that without him winning, and I don't think Riddle needs a win here. I think Seth's going to win.
And by IC title, you mean US title, right?
Yeah, it's the same shit.
Mid-card title on the show. But I feel like Seth, if he's going to challenge Lashley on Raw for the US title, and he already challenged for the title and lost, I feel like he needs to win this Fight Pit match and then win the US title from Lashley. Because as much as people think it's going to happen, as much as people say they want it to happen, Roman Reigns is not splitting those titles, and there's not going to be a quote-unquote world champion on Raw. The Raw World Heavyweight Championship right now is that US title. And the top guy on Raw right now, you could argue Kevin Owens, you can argue Matt Riddle, but I think it's Seth Rollins. And you got to put the top title on the top guy on the show, and that is Seth Rollins. So I do think Seth finds a way to win this Fight Pit, and then we'll go on to win the US title on Raw Monday night. Now, speaking of, Raw, that's one of the titles that are going to be up for at Extreme Rules, but we'll start with the Women's SmackDown Championship. Ronda Rousey, Liv Morgan, the only Extreme Rules match on the card. And the story basically is Liv Morgan is trying to prove that she could do what it takes to stay champion. She can be extreme against the baddest woman on the planet. I felt like the last couple months, it's like, all right, this is going to end. The honeymoon, the time is over. She's going to drop the belt, but they find ways for her to win. An Extreme Rules match, I feel like it's an easy way to get an out of this, have her retain and beat Ronda Rousey. But do they dare have her beat Ronda Rousey 3 times this year when no one beats Ronda Rousey, whether it's in the octagon or in the squared circle? And yes, you could give me your examples of who actually did beat her. I understand she's lost before, but she's practically indestructible when it comes to, we'll say, the sports entertainment known as pro wrestling.
I don't see Ronda losing again.
Unless Charlotte comes back or
possible.
Shayna gets involved. We haven't seen Shayna, I don't think, in a while.
We haven't seen Shayna, and that could be an interesting little riff in this whole thing. Clean, do I see Ronda losing? No.
Definitely
I think
not.
Ronda's winning. I do actually think that Ronda will probably win because I wouldn't say the honeymoon's over with Liv, but she's done better. She has done better, but I just don't think they see the investment like they see in... They don't see the investment in Liv like I think they see the investment in Ronda.
I could agree with that, but do people backlash if Ronda wins because it's like, oh, they're just putting the belt on Ronda? I mean, we've seen that already. She just wins all the time kind of thing that we typically see from some of those IWC fans, whether it's Charlotte or Roman Reigns or Brock Lesnar. Is Ronda clopped into that group there where you kind of don't want her to win because that's the expected outcome?
Yeah, maybe. But at the same time, the same people that were complaining about Brock, I mean, he ended up being one of the most over guys. Don't forget, the IWC is the most vocal, but they are very small percentage of the wrestling fan base that think their opinion is more important than anybody else's. So they could say whatever they want. Ronda gets a reaction every time.
True.
So
true. All right. So our last match we're predicting here, Bayley and Bianca Belair for the Raw Women's Championship, maybe gets up being the main event. Maybe it's the fight pit with Seth and Matt Riddle, but first time ever, the either singles women's championship match will be decided in a ladder match on a pay-per-view. Who do you got in this one? Bayley keeping the momentum going for Damage Control, or does Bianca Belair retain?
I like Bianca a lot. She's probably my favorite women's wrestler on the main roster. I think Bayley's winning this. I really do. I think she's got the faction behind her. You can argue if the faction works or not, but
I just find this so odd that they built this story around Bayley being able to pin Bianca for the first time in 300 days. And the match is a ladder match, and there's no pin involved. That's so stupid, in my opinion. But I also think that's the reason why Bianca's winning this match. She doesn't have to pin Bayley back to win the match. And I think Asuka and Alexa get involved in this match and cancel out Io and Dakota Kai. And that will lead to their women's tag team championship match down the line. Who knows? Maybe it's Raw on the Monday or on the next pay-per-view, whatever the case may be. Bianca retains, and I don't know what's next for Damage Control, and I don't know what's next for Bianca after this, though. That's the thing I worry about this, because they put so much into this storyline, but now I think we've reached the point where it's probably reaching its end, but what's next? Unless that's the story leading into Survivor Series and this is the War Games match. And that's going to be the climax of the storyline. But what's next between Saturday and the end of November? You got to build like 6 more weeks of storyline to keep it engaging and get invested for this War Games match if that's the route they're going with them.